In the late 1980s, General Siad Barre launched a genocidal war against people in the north of his country. Along with it came detentions, torture, and the mass murder of civilians. Now, 25 years on, the true story behind those crimes is emerging. In this two-part investigation, we follow an extraordinary effort to gather evidence and bring one of the key perpetrators to justice.
Welcome to Somalia, regarded by many as one of the most dangerous places on earth. To the outside world, this is the epitome of a failed state, a haven for warlords, pirates and terrorists, whose ruthless activities have made it a living hell for its citizens. Yet generalities can be deceptive. This is actually Somaliland, a self-declared nation in the north of Somalia. Its stability belies the infamous reputation of the rest of the country. It is peaceful and thriving, and though its independence isn't recognized internationally, its capital, Hargeisa, is flourishing, boosted by funds from many Somalis abroad. But Somaliland also has its dark side. Within recent history, it witnessed atrocities that brought death and despair to the door of almost every family here. Now, as this would-be nation tries to define its future, some feel its harrowing past must also be re-examined to give closure to those who suffered and to call the perpetrators to account. This two-part investigation is about that process, about truth and justice, about a community coming to terms with horrifying events, and an extraordinary international effort to bring an alleged war criminal to trial.
We're giving you a chance now to respond to the allegations. I will not touch you. I will not touch you.
No comment, no comment, not my life.
That's it.
The story has its origins in one of the darkest periods of Somalia's history. In the late 1980s, the country's then dictator, General Siad Barre, viciously turned on his own people, especially those belonging mostly to the Ishaq clan in the north. Barre held them responsible for the actions of a rebel movement known as the Somalia National Movement, or SNM. His forces laid waste to what is now Somaliland. Many tens of thousands of civilians were killed, and 500,000 were driven into exile. Today, the survivors and families of victims are still sensitive to the agonies of that violent era. But some want the crimes of the past remembered and punished. Aziz Diria is one of them. A Somaliland activist, he lost many members of his own family to Barre's clan cleansing program. Seeing those responsible brought to justice has become his life's mission. It's why he's arranged a visit by a renowned Peruvian forensic archaeologist, Jose Pablo Barayba.
Yes, man. How are you doing?
How are you, JB?
Such a long time.
Good, good. How's the trip?
It's a crucial step in what Aziz is finding to be an uphill struggle, to overcome the reluctance of many who are still not ready to deal with the loss of loved ones during the civil war 25 years ago.
Well, keep in mind that this is a war-torn country. We're still having a lot of issues, so we don't expect everything to be smooth. It's going to take a little time for people to forgive and forget, but I think we are close to that point.
Forgiveness can only start with acknowledgement.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And this confrontation is what is needed in order for people to even consider forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And let people the opportunity to talk and discuss and cry and shout and bring up whatever they want to bring up once for all, in order for certain wounds to try to heal, for people to be, to live together in peace at the end. I mean, it's just a peace-building exercise, I think.
It is.
Jose Pablo is a war crimes investigator, and he's come here to help gather evidence of mass murder, killings that grew from 3 toxic historical roots. A divisive colonial legacy, Said Barre's murderous dictatorship, and the Cold War power game between the Soviet Union and the United States. Along with many other independence-era African leaders, Barry at first embraced socialism, and like them, he enjoyed the support of the Kremlin. But after he made the fatal mistake of invading neighboring Ethiopia in 1978, also a Soviet client, Barry's backers turned on him. As a former US ambassador told us, it left a power vacuum which was eagerly filled by the Americans.
So a lot of what we saw of Somalia in those days was an effort to reaffirm our relationship with the Somali government and, to put it bluntly, kind of buy off some of that interest that had shifted to the Soviet Union with some military assistance. It wasn't the biggest program in Africa, but it was one of the largest military assistance programs we had going on in sub-Saharan Africa at that time. We were in a bit of a game with each other, with Somalia at the center of it.
But Barry was more adept at playing one superpower off against another than he was at caring for his own people. By the early 1980s, his dictatorship had become deeply repressive and was being challenged by the SNM armed resistance in the north. The regime responded savagely, with little regard for civilian lives.
This is Malkadurdro mass grave site. It is about 1 mile square area. In 1988, I think it was late May, early June, the SNM came, attacked the government, defeated the government of Siad Barre, and the military took revenge, basically destroying the civilians and the city.
Barry ordered a devastating bombardment of Hargeisa by ground and air in scenes reminiscent of World War II. Eyewitnesses say thousands of civilians were rounded up and summarily executed. Tens of thousands more fled into exile. The campaign was pitiless and brazenly documented by the general's own men, who competed to prove devotion to their leader and be rewarded for it. But recording their own crimes would come back to haunt them. Somali academic Dr. Hussein Bulhan made an astonishing discovery in the dictator's archives.
I found a tape that was really a fifth generation copy of a military documentary, raw data that the Siad Barre regime military had. And the officers and soldiers in Hargeisa were taping how they were destroying the city and causing all the massacre in order to show their commanders and their president in Mogadishu what a good job they were doing. Here is an instance where the guys were doing it are explaining and justifying. You don't even need, another proof. You see the action. You also see in this instance their own admission and declaration of what they are doing. These people were bombarding as if they were actually killing some kind of beasts that were there, not humans. And their language was as violent as their action. Kill, destroy, rape, kill all but the cause.
All right, there's still some remains. I believe there is more than 50,000 people that has been slaughtered by the Siad Barre government in this site. And what they did is they collected a lot of innocent civilians, including my father, my younger brother, my cousin, and killed here and buried here. Not buried, but actually dumped. It is very emotional for me because there is still some clothes and bones hanging on this wall. So what happened here is not something that we can forget easily. It is something that is very painful, that needs to be remembered, that needs to be part of our history.
Aziz has come to Malkudodoro to meet a man who was forced to bury many of the dead here.
ayaa goor galaba ii yimaadeen niman madaxi military gurigayga iigu yimaadeen soo bax baa la yidhi waan soo baxay waa maxay baan idhi waxay dhaheen meyd baa arradii ka buuxa malka durdure kala aas cagaf la soo baxo
soo soco
cagaftii baan dabeetana soo saaray waan kale godadkan sii qotaa subaxdii intaan kala laho iyaan godadka sii qodaa saasaan godadka u qodaa saasaan u qodaa dabna isku roga sida iyo halkaana ku shubta halkaana ku shubta dee saasaan ku aasaa sida dhagaxa guryaha la dhigayo iyo ku shubta isku rogadu halka dadkuna yani uu halka ugu faraa badan leh dee ilaahuun qiyaasantay aan qofna tirin karin ayay ahayd marka arrimuhu arrimo argagax leh oo inaan arag oo inaan maqal ayay haayeen waxaan islahaa anugu dad mala waxba kama noola.
The victims were buried in hundreds of unmarked graves around the capital, Hargeisa. There they lay, a repressed memory in the minds of a traumatized population.
You shut up! I'm here now because they don't have a place for my mind.
I was also doing mental health work. People were coming to me daily, taking me from the streets, from home, where I was staying, and asking me to treat victims, survivors who were having serious mental health problems and who had experienced that bombardment and massacre, survived it nonetheless, and they were seriously mentally ill, kept at home, in chains, most of them. So I ended up spending a good deal of time in the treatment of these individuals, almost in every neighborhood of the city. 45% of the city's residents were deeply traumatized, and post-traumatic stress disorder was very much prevalent.
For many, the scars from Berri's brutal repression of the Somali North almost 30 years ago will never fully heal.
I really don't have a hope to find my family's remains. I don't know where they are. But to come to me and say, forget about what happened to your father, forget about what happened to your brother, forget what happened to 250,000 of Somalilanders, I can't let it go. That is not something that's making sense to me.
But what could perhaps bring such closure is if those responsible for causing such pain are held to account. Berri himself died in exile in Nigeria in 1995, and with a few exceptions, most of his associates have escaped retribution. But allegedly, one of the most brutal of them is now the subject of an extraordinary international effort to bring him to justice. During the late 1980s, Colonel Yusuf Abdi Ali, also known as Colonel 2K or the Crow, was the head of the Somali Army's infamous 5th Brigade and a recent beneficiary of Siad Barre's blossoming friendship with the United States.
We figured that what we were doing with Somalia was not that much different from what the Soviet Union was doing in Ethiopia. No big deal. But everybody on all sides knew that there was a game going on there, that if we raised our ante, then they were going to raise theirs, and it wasn't always too comfortable.
God, what you going to encounter out here? My God's going to give you a demonstration.
One of 300 Somali elite officers selected for special training, 2K spent 2 years in Kansas before being redeployed back to the town of Gabile, west of Hargeisa in northern Somalia. Of all Barre's commanders in the region, he was infamous as one of the cruelest. His unit was allegedly responsible for the detention, torture, and murder of thousands of people. In 1988, at the height of the Civil War, one of his victims had a near-miraculous escape. Farhan Warfa was arrested by 2K's men at Gabile on suspicion of stealing a water tank. He says he was tortured and then shot and left for dead by Colonel 2K himself. The colonel ordered henchmen to dispose of his body. Instead, Warfa survived, and his family managed to bribe his captors to let him go.
ayuu aniga igu dilay tuk xabad bay igu dhacday waatan halkan kale way kaga dhacday baastoolad bay igu dhacday ilaa 5 xabadood.
By the time the Berry regime collapsed in 1991, Colonel Touquet was back in the US for yet more training. Now, 3 decades later, it's where Farhan Warfa, as a rare survivor among thousands of victims, is bringing a civil case against him. The outskirts of Gabili and the nearby village called Arabiso is where Aziz has enlisted the help of forensic archaeologist Jose Pablo Baraybar. He's brought a team of international volunteers from his organization, EPAF, a Peruvian NGO that investigates possible war crime sites. Part of EPAF's mission is to find forensic evidence that might be used in the case against Touquet. But just as important is to provide answers to the families of victims of massacres thought to have occurred in the area and to aid their journey towards closure.
I'll show you, just like this. Very slowly, very gently, like this. And then cleaning. One of the main things that have to happen here is to dignify the dead and to separate the dead from the living. How you do that? Well, first getting the record straight. If you really want to get the record straight, and you really want to have an open dialogue and for people to reconcile, although I hate that word, I don't think that reconciliation as such exists, but at least to have a less contentious coexistence, you'll need to really open up things. Huh? Yeah, I just want to, I'm trying to see what we're doing, that's all. I mean, it's just to understand what is happening, because it is soft today.
But opening up the past is not an exact science.
The problem is that the machine with the weight...
After more than 25 years, no one is precisely sure where the bodies are buried. Finding them needs more than picks and shovels.
Maybe it will be easier for him to come like this and to start from here, I don't know.
Bringing in a bulldozer is a risky tactic.
No.
Digging too deep could destroy the graves lying below, desecrating the remains and losing the evidence the team has traveled across the world to collect. The atmosphere is tense. But finally, one of the team spots a fragment of human bone. Yet despite EPAF's good intentions, the exhumation has upset the local community who protest at the gravesite. The situation becomes so serious that Somaliland's justice minister is called in to calm things down. He needs to convince them to allow the remains to be taken to EPAF's lab in Hargeisa and later be given a proper Muslim burial.
in la toogtay in la xidhay in nolosha lagu aasay waxaas oo waxa soo saarayaan waxa weeyaan aqoonta Ilaahayna subhanahu wa ta'ala qaadano dalaafay waxaan kaliya inaan ka caawino ogaano qaadno eegno analyze gareyno si loo kala ogaado waxay wax u dhaceen dabeetana aynu soo celino sidii ay ahayd shariicada islaamka dabeetana ayana loo hadhowtay karaabiyo loo aaso ma dhamaan sheekha bismillaahir rahmaanir rahiim awr baa halkan maray ayaa reerka idin loo baabiyay marka halka xaafadda iyada qoyska iyaga sidaa tahay haddana annaga maanta ona lagu kaakicinayaa waanu ka samiray laba iyo 30 sannadood ayaa ka dambaysay nimankan mujrimiinta ahayee haddii ilaahay ma waxaa sameeyena in sharciga lagu qaada waa wax meesha ku jira waa muhiim haddii de hadaloona iska noqotana dee ma hagaagsana kolkaa waxa weeye dawladdii Somaliland ay u dhinteen daraadood u dhinteen wax alla waxay u qabatay si gaar ah hadlaynaayo anaga fiirsan arimahan anaga taala haddaba wasiirka cadaaladda rahay waan ogahay ilaahay baa caalamka meel ku gaarsiisay lafaanahan la tus waan arkana waa sax taasi
Dia kan dia ni mungkin nak tu ke bah.
maalintii maan ooyine waan cabsanayo naftiisa maydbaa kaasunbaa i dabartay daawaaba la yidhi
man karayne
yaa dilay
qumoha ya tuke ha
cid kale miyaa garanaysaa
waxa la dawladii siyaad barre dawladii siyaad barru baahan dadkan shacabana wala leeynayo baas baa la marinay waliba kala mashxarada la lahaa tuma daawada mashxarada la lahaa daawada la lahaa inta dadku la soo qabtaa goob joog ban waxaan ahay
hooyana lama ogolayn
illa waa tooganayba kan xawal tooganay
the relatives of the victims really has no idea what we're doing and it's very difficult for them to go back to that set dark days of Tuke in Gabile. Their basically point is we forgive each other in Somaliland and we want to move on, which is fine with me, but there is a history that we cannot ignore. And if we don't ask each other what went wrong, then we're going to repeat the same mistakes again and again and again.
Present on the day the remains are unveiled is the wife of one of the men believed to be lying in the grave.
ciidamadii markay gurigayga yimaadeen waxay soo qaadeen aabbahay iyo odaygayga iyo aniga odaygaygiina way dileen aabbahayna tiirkaa lagu xidhay halkan lagu leynaya dadkaa lagu xidhay haddii aanan uurkaa lahayna inta la dilaya la igu daray wax sababoo la igu dilayeyna haba yaraatay haba weynaadee ilaa saacaddaa ayaanan fahmi karin anigu isaaq xasuuqun baan u arkay xasuuqun imaga ahaan intana weynaadeen maskaxaystay tirtir dad un baan u arkay haddana anoo foolanayo maanta dee silsilad inta lugta laygaga xidho askartu markay ii soo gasho ilmo waan iska masixi jiro waan iska baabin jiray hadday arkaan in yaroo ilmaha anoo leh way i dilayeen tuku isaga xukumaya gobolada qaybtan isaga xukumayay saa imagaba xukuumadaha iyo ciidanka iyo dhulka loo kala xukumayo ayuu isagu intan haystay nadiif wuxuuna u ahayn dee maanta waxa dhulka laga foqayo waad arkaysaan.
When Barry's regime was toppled in 1991, Somalia descended into further chaos. Colonel Tuke, or Yusuf Abdi Ali, as he's more formally known, was back in the United States at the time, receiving training at a US Air Force base in Mississippi. He then spent a brief period in Canada, posing as a refugee. But when his true identity was discovered, he was deported back to the US. However, any fears he may have had about facing prosecution by the American government were unfounded. He was granted permanent residence in 1996. We asked Ambassador Krigler if the US should have kept closer tabs on suspected war criminals.
Flatly, no, because we didn't know enough. We could have pretended to be judge and jury in Tuke's case, and ever so many others, dozens of others who claimed refuge in the United States after that fighting. But we weren't a police force, we weren't an investigative force, we weren't even a United Nations humanitarian investigation team. What we were trying to do was relieve the suffering.
Until recently, Colonel Tuke has lived openly, if anonymously, in the US, seemingly immune from legal retribution. But then Farhan Warfa's case was taken up by an American human rights NGO, and the battle to bring the former colonel to court was underway. We wanted to put to him some of the allegations that we'd heard in Somalia, to get Tuke's response to claims that he'd been involved in atrocities. But his exact whereabouts in the US were unknown. Then we managed to track him down to Fairfax, Virginia.
I think that's him.
Early one morning, we went to speak to him.
I want to ask you about allegations in Gabile against you in the court case.
No comment, no comment.
We're from Al Jazeera.
Talk to the lawyer. Talk to my lawyer.
Did you shoot Mr. Warfare 5 times?
No comment.
I understand the SNM was attacking. You were very angry, right? Is this what happened? Just explain to us.
No comment.
Is it a conspiracy? Is the government in the north just trying to get you? But please
talk to
tell
my
me.
lawyer.
Tell,
Talk to my lawyer.
tell me, is it a conspiracy?
Don't touch
Is
me.
it a conspiracy? Is it a conspiracy?
Don't touch me.
What do you have to say? We're giving you a chance now to respond to the allegations. I will not touch you. I will not touch you.
No comment. No comment. Talk to my lawyer.
That's it. Don't you want people to hear you for yourself?